to Breaking Black Podcast. One of the topics that we are going to broach today is the crabs in the barrel mentality. Essentially, people of color not, championing other people of color, not celebrating their wins, not coming in and actively supporting their business. And, I just recently saw a content creator go viral on TikTok where she talked a lot about how when there's like gossip, news, celebrity news, or something negative happening with, people of color in the public, we're quick to share, those columns, quick to share those blogs, quick to like repost those videos.
Notice that they don't never want to give BW women a platform unless we up there degrading ourselves, unless we up there being distasteful, being ratchet, being loud, being full of drama. That's the only time you will see BW women getting a platform.
Whenever we're doing something, like creating a new business, or we're creating something positive for the community, or we're doing something that really uplifts and, motivates our people are kind of slow to kind of share, that information or to support those types of businesses or organizations. And so I really would love to hear your thoughts, on that.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I literally just got chills because, a lot of times social media is one of those places where, I don't know if you've ever heard keyboard courage, right? We kind of sit behind a keyboard or our phones and we say this and we say that, right? But it really bothers me when I see, even if it is a celebrity, right? Because no one deserves to be pushed down and constantly beat on, right? When they already know, and people, well, that's what they signed up for. Not necessarily, because they're still human, right? And no one deserves to be ridiculed by every single thing that they do. But it's just kind of like, okay, well, you're sitting here and you're tearing this person apart, your brother, your sister, but did you ever think to realize what they're actually doing that's positive for their people and their community? So while you're tearing them down, they're over here building and things like that. So how can you grow not only as a community, but as a human being, to sit by and tear apart what someone is, because I've been at the bottom. I've been in spaces where I didn't know how I was going to dig myself out. And it's funny because when I noticed when I was in those spaces, that's when I had the most support. And I'm not talking about the kind of support that's trying to help me dig myself up out of that, Tina. I'm talking about the kind of support that they're just like, oh, girl, you're going to get through it. Oh, girl, you're going to. And I think those people, looking back, I think they were genuinely there not to support me because they thought they were. But I think they were there genuinely to see how far I would go down. You get what I'm saying? But me, in the way that I think, in the way that I process things, if I see you down there, and especially because I've been there, how can I'm trying to think of resolve, right? So instead of our people, and I think that we're such a great people, right? Our Black and brown community, we're so awesome, right? But I think that we can't genuinely get out there and share with the world how awesome we are until we genuinely believe it ourselves. And so, but by believing that, we have to actually show it. And the way that we show it is by going down and pulling out those ones who we left behind, because there's no way that we can make it as a people unless we are doing it in numbers. And we have to start that by mentally, genuinely, not because before you can spread that love to someone else, you have to do the work internally, I believe, because there's no way that I can support you if I don't even believe in myself, right? So that's first and foremost. So when I see people on social media tearing each other down, and tearing the celebrities down, zooming in, looking at something as simple as their feet, or oh my God, look at her camel toe, or look at her sandals, how dare her wear those sandals. It's like, she's getting to the bag, sis. She's not worried about her sandals. She's not worried about you tripping that her pants are too tight, or that she's getting to the bag. So instead of us focusing on little mundane things like, oh, I wouldn't wear those shoes with that outfit, you should be worried about how you're going to get your next, come up. But we can't do that until we lift other people up. And I genuinely believe in, for one, karma. So your tongue is sharp. So I can't see myself online and being like, oh, look at that, or oh, this and that and the other. I'm never going to feed into that, because guess what? I'm not going to be blessed in real life, right? There's no way that I can sit there and laugh at someone for their shortcomings, right? But then expect this big old abundant life. Does that make sense? So there's no way that I can get behind that. When I see it, I genuinely get upset. But to speak on that, my timeline, thankfully, is filled with uplifting. It's filled with joy. It's filled with, and I think that over time, I got it like that. On my timeline, if I gave you my phone right now, you wouldn't see fighting videos. You wouldn't see anyone bad mouthing anyone or talking about their family members in a negative way, because I've kind of weeded those people out. You're going to see memes about uplifting, and you're going to see memes of people sharing other people's content, because that's the kind of people that I surround myself with. So if I put that out there, then I feel like that's what I'm going to get in return. And I feel like that is going to start there. Showing each other that we know how to uplift each other before we can try to show the world that we can do it, because they laugh at us. They don't believe that we can, because we don't believe that we can.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think having confidence and belief in ourselves when, for hundreds of years, we have been put in positions where people have tried to make us believe that we're not, capable, that we're not able to be in a position where, we can have, things for ourselves, build things for ourselves, and, be sustainable. It's a weird dichotomy, because it's like, our ancestors have helped to literally build this entire country, build the entire infrastructure that exists, that allows other people to benefit off the privilege that they walk in every day. And we simultaneously are constantly put in positions where, we're sort of having to second guess whether or not we are good enough or right enough, or the timing is right in order for us to be able to celebrate a win. And it's because we're constantly pushed down, we're constantly overlooked, we are constantly portrayed negatively in the media. While I don't want to downplay the infrastructures that kind of keep that foot on our necks, I also want to hold our Black media responsible and say that, we could do a better job at showing more positive things amongst our own communities. Because at the end of the day, when you look at a lot of, the Black celebrity culture, or you look at a lot of the blogs, or, a lot of the films that are out there, anything that's in the media, the way that African American people and people of color are being portrayed, to me, I think it definitely does not represent, the full scope of what you see in our communities. Black people are not monoliths. We are not stereotypical characters. We are not here for the enjoyment in your movies or your films or your shows. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to be fully represented in the full scope of the type of people that we are, which is extremely resilient, intelligent, innovative, beautiful, strong, encouraging, inspiring, and I just think that we need to do a better job. If no one else is going to do it, we need to do a better job of instilling those things in ourselves. And I feel like personally, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have a space that kind of brought a lot of the struggles that we have to the masses, and really gave a voice not only to African American people in general, but African American women, and really allow people to see how we're experiencing life. Because a lot of times I think our voices are silenced. And I think that crabs in the barrel mentality is coming from a place of only seeing that only a certain percentage of Black people can make it. Only a certain percentage of women can make it. Only a certain percentage of women of color can make it. And it's almost like I've got to be in that spot, so I can't worry about who else needs a spot, when really there's enough out there for everyone. I think we have to fight a lot harder. We have to work a lot harder. And oftentimes we're working a lot longer to be there. But I think that's exactly the reason why we need to do better in supporting each other. So when we're creating businesses, or we have organizations or things that are pushing the narrative in a more positive direction, those are things that we need to get behind and help to support each other. We need to patronize our own businesses. We need to buy Black. could share content or share information, when is somebody that's seeing this going to decide, hey, I want to share this just to help build the business? I want to share just to help raise awareness. It's something that we need to work a lot harder at in making sure that we have spaces that we can create that sustain, our advancement, and also encourage our personal advancement. And so, yeah, it's a tough conversation. I don't want to put all of the blame on people of color, because we're oftentimes put in, positions where we're oppressed and we're not given a tremendous amount of power to make certain types of decisions. But that's why when you see a person of color that does have the ability to control the narrative or has a seat at the table, we need to be fully supporting that and be behind that. So I'd love, to hear your thoughts about, like, even coming down to Georgia and being in a space where there's a lot of Black business thriving and things like that. Do you kind of feel the shift and feel like you're in a space where, as you're moving into the next spaces in business, that this is going to be a space that's going to help to encourage, your advancement there?
Absolutely. I think that coming from a place like California, and being that it is so diverse and full of culture and what we call a melting pot, right? Going from a place like that and coming here, at first, I honestly was like, oh my goodness, my kids need diversity, like what's going on, because their schools, and I was like, but when I took a step back, I was like, most of their teachers are Black women. I love that. Most of the employees when I walk into a place are Black, but not only the employees, but the owners of the establishments are Black. And so I took a step back and I was like, okay, they've experienced diversity, right? So now they get to actually experience it where we are surrounded by our people in a way that is positive. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when we do turn on the TV, we see us being depicted in such a way that is malicious, that's intimidating, that is angry, and things like that. But when I came here, I was like, whoa, like when I first saw the Atlanta airport, I'm seeing my aunties and them. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, you know what I mean? My bag is being grabbed and she's Black. I turn over here, I walk through the walkthrough, it's a young Black guy. And I walk over here, I look outside on the tarmac, it's Black guys. Like, I'm like, wow. You go, and if you've ever gone to the Atlanta airport, shout out to everybody at the Atlanta airport, big ups, because they are doing their thing and they are so sweet, like Southern hospitality. You're gonna see it at that airport. So when you get out, you're like, wow, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like going to Hawaii and getting that lake. You know what I mean? I kind of felt it was like a big hug. I was like, okay. You know what I'm saying? My OBGYN, Black woman. You know what I'm saying? My doctor, Black woman. And it's just like, I love that because I don't have to, because I like a woman doctor anyway. But when I see that it's a sister, I'm like, wow, she's going to know me. She's going to know my body. She's going to know what I'm going through. She's going to understand. Not saying that a woman that is not of color cannot understand those things, right? Because that's her job. But I mean, like, genuinely, truly understand me wholeheartedly. So when I walk into different spaces and they're owned by Black people, it genuinely gives you a sense of pride and hold your head up high and stuff like that. And I want you to, me anyway, to strive to be better and stuff, just so that I can be a part of that, because you really want to be a part of it when you're in it, when you're immersed in it. You're like, oh my goodness, right? This is obtainable. Because in a place like California, not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but when I walk into a convenience store, I would see someone that was not African American, a beauty supply. When you come here, I'm like, sisters own beauty supplies? Like, we typically shop at them, you know what I mean? And you don't really get the help that you need because she doesn't know your hair type, she doesn't know but here, oh, it's gonna be a sister being like, you need some help with something? Okay, well, let me show you what's going to work, because, I use that product and I really enjoyed it. I think you're going to like it. So it was just like, and I felt out of place. I'm like, oh, I felt kind of naked, Tina. I did. I felt naked when I first got here in that way, because I was like, okay, thank you. I don't know, you know what I mean? But now that I'm in it, it's the norm for me, but I still have those moments of applause where I'm just like, this is pretty dope. we definitely have a long way to go here in Georgia, but I will say that I am proud to be a part of its growth. Okay, I will say that. So I am appreciative that I am a part of its growth.
I love that. I mean, I think that's a beautiful space to start. It's an incredible beginning for sure. And yeah, I mean, I would actually wish that we had more of that in the West Coast, where there was like a little. We have a lot of diversity, but I do wish that I could see a little bit more of a larger support for minority owned businesses and things of that nature. I definitely feel like there's been some challenges, even sustaining that, and even just seeing kind of all of the gentrification that you see moving through the West Coast, because a lot of people of color just cannot afford to maintain property here and things of that nature, and even their businesses, for their brick and mortars. You're seeing a lot of places closed down that have been around for a really long time. And so I'm hopeful. I think that as we continue to raise awareness that our sisters and brothers need to be out there really fully supporting each other in all of our endeavors, especially things that are positive. Unfortunately, we saw what happened in Nipsey, but I as he was coming into the community and creating all these different business. I mean, he was a very successful musician, but he came back to the community and really tried to create a space that could generate Black education and additional Black entrepreneurship, as well as generational wealth. And in looking at a lot of the projects that he had.
You actually own half of this lot.
Yeah, me and my family, Black Sam, Adam, my pops, the whole team.
He also owns Marathon Clothing Store, which not only sells his label, but lets his visitors use an app to enhance their shopping experience.
We playing a long game. We don't want the money to stop when we go. When we can't work no more, we want it to outlive us. We want it to be generational.
And next door, a basic needs shop. They sell everything from prepaid cell phones to fragrances. And at both stores, Nipsey hired local artists. By the end of this year, Nipsey will also open a barber shop and a Creole seafood restaurant.
And everything, all the equipment was brand new.
All of these businesses are family owned and operated. Nipsey says businesses are only part of the change. For true change, he's starting with kids at 54th Street Elementary, an area plagued by violence.
Yeah, I think it's just about offering a new identity.
He hired a local artist to help spruce up this basketball court. And I see in the inside, it's got safety, respect, friendship, kindness, community, principles,
to live by.
And in an attempt to attract entrepreneurs to the community. His latest business venture is Vector 90, a co-working space in the Crenshaw district.
It's very important that co-working spaces or spaces like this exist in communities like this for people of color, where we can have resources and spaces to work and to network and to meet with people and collaborate with people.
You can sign that part of the front.
Nipsey Hussle has given everything: hope, opportunity, and resources for his community to grind and succeed.
Meditate and get into yourself and find out what's really motivating you.
I really thought that he had a beautiful vision of, how a young person can come back into the community and create other spaces for people that are, just ultimately just like him, that are coming into the industry with lots of talent and with lots of opportunity and, lots of potential, and, essentially create a space where we could, sort of harness that and grow. And I wish that we could see more of that happening in our culture, not just with celebrities, but I think with just successful business people that come back into our communities and reinvest in the community, so that we can kind of build up some of those ground zero spaces. But I've also seen kind of like this push to sort of tear down some of our our Black celebrity. I want to be clear, I think if you are out there and you are doing something where you're being predatorial or you're committing a crime or you're doing something that's, you know, inhumane. I don't support that. I don't want to ascribe to supporting that. But I think I'm more or less looking at just the disparities of sort of what you see happen when it's a person of color being cast in a negative light versus it being a non-person of color. And I feel like a lot of the times, you know, media and Black media is sort of like picking up on these stories. And it's almost like all you're seeing them do is run with all of the negativity. But meanwhile, there's things that are happening out there that's really positive, that is pushing, you know, African-American culture forward, pushing African-American economics forward. And I just don't feel that we're spending as much time covering those spaces. And so I'd like to see sort of, you know, a balance between, you know, Black media really taking the reins and saying, you know, if no one else is going to do it, we're going to start putting out positive stories that are going to shed a positive light for our people, and not just all of, you know, these tropes or stereotypical, you know, spaces that we constantly keep being placed in, and having the rest of the world, you know, only see us in just that purview.
Yeah, that it breaks my heart. It's like I understand, you know, hip hop has always had the connotation of being hardcore and yeah, this and that. And then you have our Black athletes who they'll be shown in a light that they've done something. And again, just like you, I'm not saying that anything that's criminal or anything that is abusive but I'm using it as an example to where you don't see it as often in people who are not of color. You know, I don't turn on the TV too much and see someone who is Caucasian or Asian and hear things about them in a negative light. You know, I can't think of the last time I heard someone in the country music space, a white male doing something that was just like, oh my God, how dare him clutch my pearls, right? But then you see all the time where it's the Black men in hip hop or our actors and things of that nature. Oh, he cheated on his wife. Oh, he's a basketball player. He must be cheating on his wife or things of that nature. But you just don't hear it as much in the other cultures, and it does, and it's just like, wow, that's crazy. And then so for me, when I see that, I'm like, you know, that's not really, like you said, indicative of who we are as a whole. So in all actuality, even though we've come such a long way, we have so much further to go in being represented, right? Because just because you put someone Black in a commercial doesn't mean that that resonates with me. Because even growing up, when they started kind of putting people of color in commercials, in the commercials, what were they doing? They had the kinkier hair, which is fine because I love my locks. But what I'm saying is, it was always someone who looked extra Black according to what Black should look like, right? To the people of no color, right? And then not only that, they were rapping in the commercials, or they were baggy pants, and I'm just like, I don't know too many people who walk around rapping, you know what I mean, when they're eating a cheeseburger. Like, so that kind of gets me a little bit when I see, and it's just like, do white people not get in trouble? Why do I always turn on the TV and see a Black male being the one who is depicted in such a negative light? Not saying he didn't do it, but what I'm saying is, do they not do it? So it's just like, I kind of, and I know that other people do get in trouble. I know other people do things that are, and I'm not saying that's what we need to showcase. I'm just saying we're not the only culture who do those things, but also showcase the things that we're doing positive. Because you'll say, oh, such and such did this great thing, but in other news, this person did such a horrible thing. We're going to focus on that horrible thing. We didn't really get to really settle and marinate on that good thing, right? So I think that if we get a chance to show what we're doing in more of a positive way, then we won't focus on so much of the negative. I hate to keep bringing it back to the celebrity, right? But that's all we see. We see the movies, we see the reality TV, and don't get me started on that, okay? So I I'm not knocking it, Tina, but I think it's been years since I've watched reality TV. Um, we come from an age where reality TV first hit the scene. So, to these young kids, you're welcome, right? So we had this thing where, I think Tammy Roman was like genuinely like the first girl that I saw and fell in love with. Not in a sexual way, but in a way to where I was just like, oh my God, that's big sis. You know what I mean? Because I saw my brother watching Real World and I was just like, man, this is hella dope. You know what I mean? Like, so to have that representation and to see her talk about real things and to talk about things that happened to her, not just as a Black woman, but as a woman, period. And for us to be like, oh my God, and typically that would be taboo, but it's just like, these are the things that she's gone through. And as a little girl, I was just like, man, this is awesome. But then fast forwarding, right? We all kind of have that, those guilty pleasures and those things where we kind of like a little bit, because I don't have drama in my regular life. So I always like to say, I don't mind a little bit of stank on my TV, but at the same time, I want to be mindful, and I think it has to do with me getting to a like these kids say, my upper age, my you know what I mean? I call it my great age when I'm getting up there, right? I'm really mindful of what I put into me and what I pour into me, and that has a lot to do with even what I'm listening to and what I'm watching. So when I go from that reality TV where then it's like competition and we're playing and we're kikiing to now we're genuinely women of stature. We have on heels, we have a full face of makeup, our hair is nice, like I said, our face is beat to the gods, and we're fighting. I don't like it. Ooh, girl, when I tell you I hate it and I do not partake in that. So if you ask me what's going on in these different reality shows, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who's who. I couldn't pick them in the lineup because I choose not to partake in that because it's not, because you can't go to an event, and have a fur coat on and now you're pushing each other in the pool and throwing drinks at each other. This is a charity event. And so when I see that, and then I think that, I can't speak for other cultures, but when they see that, I feel like we're being laughed at. We put ourselves back so many years in that way. And I'm not saying don't watch reality TV. That's my preference. I just choose to be careful of what I partake in, because that, to me, if I'm involved in it, then that means that I'm accepting it, and I don't. I think that we should see more of things that are uplifting us and stuff like that. But right now, we're in such a way to where everything is so funny. And again, we're laughing at each other's downfalls instead of reaching down, like I was speaking on earlier, and pulling each other up. I think that we would be in such a better place if we were to put ourselves on a solid ground of we have to actually reset the foundation. I believe, Tina, I really think that we have to reset the foundation and what Black excellence look like, because we can't keep saying, oh, we're great, but you see us in fur coats at a gala pushing someone in a swimming pool. I don't think we can get there like that. So that's just my take on it. And who am I? I just live here.
No, I hear you. I feel like you made a great point. I mean, the thing about reality TV that always gets me is there's sort of like this really odd dichotomy, right? You've got, you see these people represented in the medical field, doing charity events, working as stylists. Maybe they have a great music career, or they've been working in TV, or they've been a former model, or you see this element of them having this prestige and and in their professions, and even some of them in contributions to charity, and even helping to create other spaces for Black entrepreneurs and things of that nature, which is a beautiful part of what you get to see on reality TV, including the moms and dads that you see there, the relationships that you see there in their marriages or in their family dynamics. I find that part of it to be beautiful, but it's always muddled with fights, arguments, cattiness, shade. And, I think I'm okay with a little funny shade here and there. But it's when it gets to the space where it's just like, you cannot represent our positives without showcasing something negative to go along with it. And I think it's that running theme that I have an issue with when it comes to reality TV, because you're constantly seeing us argue and fight and tear each other down and demean each other. And it's like, it's put in a place where there's this professional environment, this professional setting, like you talked about before, being at a charity event. And then you kind of get this really ugly side of it where, it's kind of, always mixed in or tied in with something that's incredibly negative, or some stereotypes that, we've been working to get ourselves away from. I don't watch reality TV either. And I think that that's the reason why. I think if there was a little bit more positivity there, if the stories were a little bit more inspirational, I celebrate us in every capacity. And don't get me wrong, the professions that you see showcased in reality TV, I think they're amazing. I just wish that they didn't come with all of the, the arguing, the fighting, digging up people's paths, throwing shade and dirt on each other. I feel like you can showcase us doing these amazing things and being in these amazing spaces and really just celebrating each other and our success. And I think that deserves the spotlight. And I wish that, some of those shows would highlight that just a little bit more, and also focus a little bit more on the positivity that you see in their, relationship dynamics and their family dynamics. And I don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there. So let us know, in the comments what you think. Do you think we're starting to surpass that sort of crabs in the barrel mentality? Do you think we're doing a lot better at supporting each other and, making sure that we're there to champion our positive causes? Or, do you think we still have a little room of improvement there? Let us know how you feel. Let us know if, are you fans of reality TV? Do you like what you see, or do you want to see more positive representations of African Americans and people of color across the board? Let us know. Thank you so much for tuning in to Breaking Black Podcast. We're going to have something amazing for you coming back next week, so stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.